So Zoe Lamont is a successful entrepreneur and has been involved in a number of ventures, including Senator Online, which is the world's first internet-based political party, Sigrin and Lamont, which was a micro-business model to assist Burmese illegal migrants and children along the Thai-Burmese border. 10,000 Girl Campaign, which is probably what Zoe's most famous for, which is a life planning and financial literacy program for women across Australia. And she's just starting out with Future Map, which is a financial literacy program for the workplace. Welcome, Zoe. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
So tell me a little bit about your life as an entrepreneur, just to start off. What's the day in the life of Zoe Lamont?
Well, I guess that anyone who is an entrepreneur or interested in the entrepreneurial world knows that no day is the same. And so I suppose that being involved in a few different things, I wake up each morning and I'm doing different things each day. With the 10,000 Girl program and Future Map, I do some facilitation and delivery still. But then there's all that things behind the scenes, from whether it's planning and board meetings and doing the cash flow and paying bills and planning for 5-10 years down the track.
So tell us a little bit about 10,000 Girl first up.
So 10,000 Girl is a life planning, as you said, and financial literacy program for young women, a lot in regional and remote areas, but also we run them in the metropolitan cities in Australia. And the idea is that we've got so many resources in Australia, and it's to learn how to effectively manage them. And then as we build our capacity and learn, that we've got investment options within our super and that we can set goals and achieve them. And the idea is to increase our capacity to then be able to give, and we've linked the program to microfinance. And so we work with an organisation called Opportunity International, which deliver microloans to women in living in extreme poverty. So the idea is the more we can empower and increase empower ourselves and increase our capacity, the more capacity we have to help, other women step up on that economic ladder wherever you are.
So how do you define success?
I think success is if you set out to do something and you do it.
So action's quite an important part of success for you, to actually do what you say you're going to do?
I think that when any of us take action, whether it is to do with your personal finances, or whether it's to do with your career, or whether it's going to the gym, or whether it's eating healthier, or whether it's giving to charity or whatever, or smiling at a stranger at a bus stop, it doesn't matter, but action is I think just such a catalyst for progression in society.
So what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
I don't think I ever set out to be an entrepreneur. In fact, it was only a year or so ago when I was really fortunate to go to the SSE, to the School for Social Entrepreneurs, where I actually learnt the word. I guess now, and as I grow up a little bit, I realise that words like entrepreneur and are useful in explaining, what it is you do, and I think that there's a creative twist rather than being like a business owner of a utilities business, or something that's on, a newsagent that's on every corner, or something that's replicated. And I think that, especially for me, I would definitely say I'm a social entrepreneur, which everything I do, I work to have financial returns, but also create social impact.
Was there ever a point when you thought that one of your ventures wasn't going to survive? And if so, how did you deal with that, or was there a shift for you?
Well, I think you have that all the time. But with 10,000 Girl, again, about 8 months ago, we probably got to that point. And even though, all the workshop feedback was great, and from a participant's point of view, it was 100% great. But from the back end, we had hung ourselves out to dry. We were physically going on the weekends to Alice Springs, then Wagga, then Perth, then Brisbane. That's not sustainable when you're charging minimal amounts and as small as possible for people to come. we looked at what was working. We went right back to the core, the core elements of the plan and our mission and our vision, and said, what are we working to achieve? This, and this. Well, how can we do it financially? Well, this and this, they're okay. They're running sustainably. The National Rural Women's Network gave us some webinar technology, which allowed us to create a new solution. So instead of physically being in all these places, we could use technology as a way to preserve the quality control of the programs, but allow it to be even more community-owned. And actually, there were a lot of benefits that came from that.
So have you had to make any sacrifices to kind of let your vision happen?
Oh, just a few cheeky sacrifices. One being sleep. The other probably being like, I went a couple of years without a relationship.
So what were tell us a couple of key steps to starting your ventures. So are there any sort of three things that you always put in place before you start something, or to help something start up?
I don't know how people operate without goals and plans. So whenever, especially with 10,000, I was actually living in Canberra when those plans were coming together, and I had a whole room, and it was all butcher's paper, and when visitors came, they had to sleep in my room, and I had to sleep in that room because no one could sleep in there because it was so busy. Like, it was, the energy was coming off the walls. But it has to be, you have to have something written down. You can't work in a team without being able to clearly communicate what you're doing. So I think that a plan is absolute number one. And then to prioritise the plan, because often, you've got so many ideas, and that I've seen so many times that stops people actually starting. So to break it right down. And then, as we said, surrounding yourself by people who can and want to start rolling it out. And then the third one might be like perseverance. So to keep trusting yourself, and even on those days where you feel like giving up, that the ideas come from somewhere, and if it's still burning inside, to keep following it, because often when you're going through that really hard patch, there's a rainbow at the end.
Do you have an exit plan? Like a little button that you can press if you're like, okay, I just want to leave? Or, yeah, tell us about that.
So I think 10,000 Girls we started as a business, and so I think the idea would have been to sell it effectively. It has, over then the first couple of years, turned into a bit more of a social movement. So we registered as a not-for-profit, and then and we run it then as a social enterprise. And so that has changed. The exit strategy was to sell it, and then now it is really to embed it in 100 sort of towns around Australia. With Future Map, we have got there's different parts of the business that we've got different exit plans for. So there's a web-based part that is sort of saleable over time, and there's a program delivery part that is scalable and something that we might not necessarily have to be physically involved in, but whether it's sold or whether it's we're in management but not having to deliver it on the ground.
So tell us about your vision for your ventures. How important is it to have a business plan, obviously, but also like an actual vision, something that's articulated?
I think that it is really important to have a vision, and that really it's your elevator pitch, isn't it? Like what you want to be saying to everyone every day on the streets. And with 10,000 Girl, I see really clearly having this program running at regular intervals over each year in 100 country areas. That to me is my vision. That's what I want to see. Thousands of women learning this stuff ongoing, but learning it in their own communities in their own ways. With Future Map, we say we wanting to change the financial blueprint of Australia, and that's our tagline on our logo. It's our first sentence on every document. It's what we talk about. We talk about people's blueprints in the workshops, and so it's woven into not only our marketing material and our own planning and vision and focus and motivation, but also in the way we talk to the participants.
So do you have any advice for young entrepreneurs starting out today?
I think if you've got an idea, try it. What's the, like, what we did with Sigrid and Lamont, I've still got, to be honest, probably $10,000 worth of jewellery and stationery in a shipping container on the farm I grew up on. So, there aren't all roses, but that then evolved into organising external funders to run the teacher training program and stuff. So you might not start with what you end up with, but if you haven't started, you won't ever know. And I think that even if you take what we talked about when we're talking about planning, a small part of it, or, just run a pilot program with your friends or whatever it might be, nothing to lose. Like, the more people doing things and trialing ideas, the more, exciting innovation's going to come out of the world.
Yeah, for sure. And so what's been your most valuable lesson on your entrepreneurial journey so far?
I think it's definitely the people you surround yourself by. I think that sometimes, and especially like as a founder of an organisation, you get a lot of the credit and the attention, but I mean, without the 10,000 Girl Board and without all the volunteers and without, Alistair, my future map business partner, and, nothing would happen. And so, and I wouldn't be the person I am today, and the organisations I'm part of wouldn't exist. And so I think it is very much about people, the right people getting together and taking action.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself and your various ventures in the next 10 years? What's the goal?
Well, I would like, as I said, with 10,000 Girl, I would love us to, in the next 3 years, to really consolidate what we're doing in Australia and to get up to a certain point where we're making substantial contributions to the microfinance element of the program, and then to be able to, duplicate or share that model with other, countries and even institutions and stuff that might be able to adopt some of the information. With Future Map, we also want to build an online version of what we're doing, or what we're in the process of. So that's a quite a scalable sort of few year project. And I suppose then in 10 years personally, I'm a country girl actually, and I want to go back to live in the country. So, and I think with technology you can do anything. So I want to have enough things like set up and trialed and tested in and teams built, so I can have the flexibility to maybe one day even have family and, do some normal things rather than the last 10 years I've been like...
But you love it, clearly.
True.
Thank you so much for sharing your story of being an entrepreneur, Zoe.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.